The morning my father's will was read, my sister wore white. Not cream, not soft beige, white, like she was showing up to a summer brunch instead of a legal reckoning. I remember staring at her across the polished mahogany table in Victor Lang's office and thinking, oh, Miranda still believes she's the heroine in this story. Even now, my name is Delaney Palmer. I'm 36, and if you've ever been the responsible daughter, the one who doesn't cause problems, the one who figures it out without help, you already know how this kind of story begins. It begins long before the will. It begins with small things, with patterns, with silence. My father, Douglas Palmer, had been gone exactly 10 days when we all gathered in that office in downtown Denver. The building smelled faintly like old carpet and lemon cleaner, and the elevator had that slow, dramatic creak that makes you feel like something serious is about to happen. Miranda was scrolling on her phone when I walked in. Scrolling. Victor hadn't arrived yet. My mother was seated beside her, whispering in that tight, urgent tone she used whenever she was trying to control a narrative before it escaped her. The moment she saw me, her mouth flattened. "Delaney," she said, like I was already being difficult. I hadn't even spoken. If I'm being honest, the grief still hadn't settled properly. It came in strange waves. Sometimes I'd be fine answering emails, folding laundry, and then I'd remember the sound of Dad's boots in the hallway, or the way he cleared his throat before saying something important, and it would knock the air right out of me. But that morning, grief wasn't the loudest emotion in the room. Expectation was. You see, after the funeral, after Miranda's dramatic announcement that we should just sell the house and simplify everything, word somehow spread through extended family that there was confusion about my father's estate. Confusion is a polite word for what Miranda meant. I became quiet too, independent, low maintenance when Miranda crashed her first car at 19 because she wasn't in the right headspace to drive. My parents helped her replace it. When I needed a laptop for college, I picked up extra shifts at a bookstore and bought it myself. And everyone praised me. "You're just stronger, Delaney." You know what that really means, right? It means no one's coming. Back in Victor's office, Miranda leaned forward, voice dropping into that sugary register she used when she wanted to sound reasonable. "Delaney, I just need breathing room. You know I've had a rough couple years." A rough couple years. That's one way to describe $280,000 in debt. Yes, we eventually learned the updated number. It wasn't $300,000 like initially suspected. It was $287,460. Miranda insisted the precision mattered. Sports betting, online poker, investment opportunities. Some guys she met in Scottsdale convinced her were foolproof. My mother had refinanced her own car to give Miranda cash twice, and still it wasn't enough. Miranda looked at me across that conference table and said quietly, "If we sell the house, I can clear everything, start fresh. Dad would want that." I felt something inside me go very still. Dad would want that. No, Dad would want accountability. He just never knew how to demand it out loud. Victor cleared his throat. The trust was designed specifically to prevent liquidation for personal debt coverage. Miranda's face flushed. "So I'm being punished?" I shook my head slowly. "No, you're being stopped." Silence. My mother's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't soft tears. They were frustrated ones. "You're tearing this family apart," she said to me. And that's when it hit me, how upside down it all was. The years of enabling, the financial hemorrhaging, the secrecy. But me saying no? That was the betrayal. I took a breath. Mom, the family was tearing itself apart every time we pretended Miranda didn't have a problem. Miranda shot up from her chair. "I do not have a problem." Victor, again calm as ever, slid a document across the table. "There are active collection filings in 3 counties. Miranda stared at the paper. Her hands trembled, just slightly. That was the first crack. Not the screaming. Not the accusations. The tremble. The weeks after that meeting were messy. There's no glamorous word for it. Miranda tried to negotiate. She offered me partial equity if I'd authorize a home equity line of credit against the house. She suggested we rent it out and split profits up front. She even floated the idea of moving in temporarily to stage it better for resale. Each time, I said no, and each time my stomach twisted like I was swallowing broken glass. Because boundaries don't feel powerful at first. They feel cruel. About a month later, the consequences started stacking up in visible ways. Her condo in Cherry Creek went into pre-foreclosure. A process server showed up at my mother's house looking for her. One evening, Mom called me. Not defensive, not angry, just tired. "I don't know how to help her anymore," she said quietly. That was new. I drove to Littleton that weekend. The house looked the same. The porch swing creaked the same way, but inside it felt lighter somehow, less tense. Mom made tea. We sat at the kitchen table. "I thought loving her meant softening every fall," she said, staring into her mug. "But maybe I just made the ground disappear entirely." I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "You loved her the only way you knew how." "And you?" she asked, finally looking at me. "What did I teach you?" That question lodged somewhere deep in my ribs. "You taught me how to survive," I said gently. "But Dad taught me how to stand still." A week later, Miranda called me. No theatrics, no manipulation, just quiet. "I can't keep doing this," she said. "I wake up every day with this buzzing in my head, like I'm one email away from everything exploding." I didn't rescue her, but I did listen. And when she admitted she'd been gambling online even after Dad died because the stress was unbearable, I told her I would help pay for a treatment program. Not her debts, her treatment. There was a long pause on the phone. "You really won't sell it?" she asked one last time. "No," I said, "but I will sit with you while you figure out how to live without burning everything down." She checked into a 90-day inpatient program outside Boulder. 2 weeks later, recovery wasn't cinematic. There were relapses, angry calls, blame, shame, more blame. But something shifted when she realized the house was no longer an option. It wasn't a safety net. It wasn't a chip to cash in. It was simply unavailable. And weirdly, that's when she started taking responsibility. Mom still lives in the Littleton house under a formal lease, $1 a month, like I promised. Not because I'm generous, but because stability shouldn't be weaponized. I visit often. I repainted the front porch last summer, kept the oak tree. Sometimes I sit at Dad's old workbench and run my fingers along the grain of the wood, thinking about how protection doesn't always look loud or dramatic. Sometimes it looks like paperwork filed quietly 15 years ago. Miranda is 16 months into recovery now. We're not magically close. We're rebuilding. Slowly, carefully. Trust grows back like grass after a wildfire. Patchy at first, but it does grow. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Loving someone does not mean financing their destruction. And refusing to collapse so someone else can stand isn't selfish. It's necessary. So if you've ever been the strong one, the reasonable one, the daughter who fixes everything while everyone else falls apart, I see you. And I hope you remember that strength without boundaries isn't strength. It's self-erasure. If this story resonated with you, subscribe to Her Untold Revenge for more stories about women who chose dignity over dysfunction. And share this with someone who needs the reminder that saying no can sometimes be the most loving thing you'll ever do. Because sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's just finally refusing to rescue.